The home of British motorsport, Silverstone welcomes the GB3 Championship for rounds 4, 5 and 6. This, of course, where we come for the British Grand Prix. This, the one they all want to win. As you can see, the conditions look set to play a part just like they did at Alton Park. Let's first reflect on what happened at Alton Park before we get into rounds 4, 5 and 6 here at Silverstone.
The season underway in GB3, and it was Joseph Loke starting from pole position ahead of his teammate Matthew Rees. It wasn't long into the race until there was drama heading through the Hislop chicane as Styko was having a couple of problems, as well as one of the Chris Dittman racing cars. Suto Arau would go for a bit of a spin and would unfortunately stall, bringing out the safety car. And once they got back racing again, Alex Dunn was having problems without a front wing, holding back the charge of the likes of Waberski, Morales and Shin as well. He'd just get past Morales. An issue up towards the final corner would cause a final red flag where Loke would win. Highlights from what was an extremely wet second race of the GB3 weekend. The first race on Monday, and the race will be underway. Soto Arau with a poor start from the second row of the grid, and it was a brilliant one from drivers like Matthew Rees and James Headley, who'd got up to second position on the race down towards the first corner. Joseph Loke was still able to hang on. Then there was this, the battle for the race lead. Headley had caught his way up to the rear end of Joseph Loke, and a well-timed up and under going through Druids up towards the final corner at Lodge, and it was that number 4 on the left-hand side taking over the race lead. Speaking of drivers and speaking of their struggles, both of these, that is David Morales and Stewart, that both went wide going through Druids, unsighted into the corner, and just perfect laps done by this driver here. James Headley would take victory in the race. He was caught late on by Callum Voisin, Joseph Loke in third. A few drivers starting from the pit lane after changing tyres, and Zach Taylor was on the attack in the first corner. There was contact though, and a spinner as we went through that first turn, but there was a bigger one in the background as out towards the wall goes Callum Voisin, one of your top lot in the championship. Ping struggling for grip on the slick tyres, and he would lose out of position almost immediately to Ayato Iwasaki, who was all over the rear end coming through the first corner, would go for an up and under through that first turn and would take over second position. Eventually the safety car would come out once again after a crash at Island Bend, and then across the line, Mavliatov.
So that's a look at what happened at the first event at Alton Park, and now we welcome in Piers. Don't worry, by the way, Jonas has not run off to go and watch the coronation. That's not why I'm here. But there we go. He's certainly not missing the weather where he is he?
No.
Piers, great to have you back for rounds 4, 5 and 6 here
Yes.
at Silverstone. Always an exciting one, isn't it? The home of British motorsport.
Oh, of course. It is the home of British motorsport, an amazing circuit, produces some amazing racing. We've seen it last year and in the previous years, and yeah, from all the evidence is there that's going to happen once again.
And we just had a look back at the first round there at Alton Park.
Yes.
3 great races in different conditions. We might have the same this weekend as well. Any drivers that stood out for you in particular?
Well, of course, Joseph Loke, his first round or first races in the championship, double pole position, a win in race 1. Unfortunately, in the wet in race 2, didn't quite have the pace, but that allowed Headley to come through and have his first GB3 race win. And it's great to hear in the time from Alton Park to now that he's actually signed up for the full season, because he was only on a round-by-round basis up at the first round. But no, in for the full season, so great to see him. And then, of course, one of my picks for the championship, Callum Voisin, is there in third place in the championship. And also great to see it's so competitive with all the teams. I think we've got 3 different teams in the top 3 and 4 different teams in the top 5, or was it 5 in the top 6 or something like that? So, you know, really good competitive racing throughout the field. Some new drivers, some drivers that have come back from a second year, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the season unfolds as we go. It's now, of course, the second event of the season.
And this the biggest entry as well that we've had since the 70s, basically,
Yeah.
in GB3. It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's great that it's a massive entry, you know, 24, 25, 26 cars every race weekend, but not only is it a big entry, but it's competitive. I mean, especially in that group first down to, you know, sort of about 20th, generally has been so tight. You know, you go a 10th or 2 faster, you go up 5, 6 places. It's mental, which is great to see that it's so competitive, and that's why I think the championship keeps growing, because the competitiveness is there, and why hopefully as we go on in seasons in the future, it will remain to be competitive and one of the championships to be in the development of a racing driver, either on the path to Formula 1 or other things in motorsport.
And were there any drivers at that first round in particular that you think, actually, you know, maybe that they weren't quite on par for where they should be that round, but, you know, they're really going to step it up this time?
Yeah, I think the Rodin Carlin car of John Bennett, he had a really disappointing qualifying, which then set him up for a poor weekend that he said himself. He said it was a bit disappointing, but I'm sure he'll be there this weekend and also for the rest of the season alongside his teammate Callum Voisin. Matthew Rees had a strong, solid results, but he will be hoping to, outperform his rookie teammate Logan. I'm sure that he will for a lot of the season, because his pace towards the second half of last year was amazing, and he's going to definitely put in a championship challenge, I'm sure. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it all unfolds throughout the season. And of course, we had some strong showings as well from the high-tech Pulse 8 cars, but no race wins from them quite yet.
Well, I'm sure you all know the Silverstone circuit, but you haven't heard Lewis McGlade talk you around it, so let's go and hear from him now.
This weekend, we head off to the home of British motorsport, to a circuit which straddles the county lines of Northamptonshire and Buckinghamshire. It's a fantastic venue that stood the test of time in the world of motorsport, opened back in the late 1940s. It has been a true test for many of our drivers for years and years and years, courtesy of some of the most incredible corners in world motorsports: Maggotts, Beggars and Chapel, Stowe, going around Club, up through Abbey. It is a fantastic venue. Of course, the start-finish straight for us out of Woodcote down towards Copse Corner this weekend over the 18 turns. Some of the most well-known in all of the world, including the end of the Wellington Straight, where you've got the Brooklands Corner. 5.9 kilometres or 3.6 miles in old money as they wrestle their way around the circuit, which has very little when it comes to elevation change, courtesy of it being an old airfield back in the 40s. And that is a look around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit we'll be racing this weekend.
So that was a look at the track with Lewis, and as you can see, we've come up onto the roof of the BRDC clubhouse. God knows why they let us two in to have a look at the track. This is where you get the best view. You got the run down the Wellington Straight in towards Brooklands and Luffield here. Piers, looks a little bit different when you're up here from when you were racing, doesn't it?
Yeah, very much so. And we're going to have changeable weekend this weekend with wet and dry conditions, I would imagine, over the 3 races. Of course, it's very wet at the moment, but it's a unique challenge and an amazing challenge that the drivers get to experience on a race weekend here in GB3. Of course, Formula 1 comes here, everyone knows that, but in the dry, mega fast, high speed, it really allows these GB3 cars to come alive. And the average speed is way over 100 miles an hour, and even in the wet it's really fast, but that gives an extra challenge, because when it is wet it's a very grippy tarmac, but obviously then you've got puddles to deal with and potentially a little bit of aquaplaning, but the drainage is good around here. But no, I'm looking forward to a good weekend of racing, and you can definitely overtake around the circuit as well.
And when you're out there, do you see almost those moments from British Grand Prix? You get out onto the Hamilton Straight, coming down here into Copse. I guess, do those memories as a kid when you were watching Formula 1, do they all come back to you?
Yeah, when you head out on circuit for the first time, it really is something like, wow, I'm actually driving on the same circuit. I love driving the cars around here. They really, as I mentioned a moment ago, it feels like the cars come alive. When people ask me what's it like to drive a Formula 3 car like Silverstone, I'm like, at Silverstone specifically, it kind of almost feels like you're flying a plane. It's so smooth, so flat, so fast, you barely slow down. It really is like a different experience to anywhere else. And a lot of these drivers will be looking to potentially in their future careers race here, maybe in Formula 1, and the fact that they'll have experience from this championship here, and that, as you mentioned, maybe seeing the different moves and making the same moves that they've seen their heroes make is something quite unique. And
racing-wise as well, I mean, Alton Park, very narrow circuit, not long straights there as well. A lot different here, isn't it? It's very wide.
Yes.
We've seen cars go 5 wide here in Formula 1 sometimes, so and long straights as well. So I think we're going to see a lot of overtaking here. Right?
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can get some serious overtaking this weekend. You almost couldn't have 2 more different circuits for the first 2 rounds of the season. Alton Park, very technical, bumpy, tight radius corners, very narrow. Silverstone, it's hugely wide, of course, the Formula 1 race here. It's a very long circuit with lots of different corners, lots of high speed. It's about carrying minimum speed. It's less of a hustle, more of a sort of glide the speed through the corners. And yeah, it's a unique experience, but also you've got the long straights. The Wellington Straight right behind us into Brooklands is one of the main overtaking opportunities. Also the Hanger Straight, of course, into Stowe. And then also out of this corner here into the turn 1, there's a lot of longer straights. The slipstream comes into action, and there's a lot more space for you to make a manoeuvre. So I'm looking forward to seeing some moves, especially in the wet, because that really opens things up.
Well, I'm going to let you into a secret. The reason they did let us up here is because we came up with 2 GB3 drivers, one of them being a BRDC superstar, Callum Voisin, and one of them being a BRDC rising star, Mackenzie Cresswell. Let's hear from them now. And we are on the roof now of the BRDC clubhouse down here at Brooklands Corner. We've got the view of Luffield in the background as well. We're not just up here for any reason. We are up here because we are with one of the BRDC superstars, also GB3 driver, Callum Voisin. Callum, I'm sure this is going to become quite a regular place for you, the BRDC clubhouse. Tell us how it feels to be part of the BRDC superstars, be selected for that, and also be able to come up here.
I mean, honestly, as a up-and-coming kind of aspiring young driver, especially a British young driver, I think being part of the superstars has always been kind of a dream of mine. I think, you know, as I said, every young British driver kind of aspires to be on this program, and, you know, along with Andy, he helps us a lot in terms of he gives us loads of opportunities with our racing, and especially, you know, he's done it before. He knows what a young driver wants and what a driver goes through and what they need. So, you know, he does take very good care of us, and I mean, what a place to host it at the clubhouse at Silverstone, and yeah, I mean, what a facility.
We're a championship, of course, British Championship, partnered by the BRDC, but just tell us what comes with being part of the British Racing Drivers Club.
I mean, most of all, you're there to like represent the brand, so, you know, we got to wear it on our suits, on our cars and stuff like that. Obviously they offer, you know, many opportunities for young drivers, such as kind of training camps with the superstars especially, and you know, obviously you get to use the amazing facilities at Silverstone, such as the clubhouse, and then sometimes they have the farm open as well on the kind of the big F1 weekends and stuff like that. So, you know, there's a lot you can do, and yeah, I mean, it's probably the most prestigious club in British racing, so no, it's a huge honour.
Of course, we're here Saturday morning. The weather isn't with us just yet, but it should be with us tomorrow, and with being part of the superstars, you get a lot of guest passes to the clubhouse. Have you got a lot of people coming to support you this weekend?
Yeah, I think I've got my uncle coming, obviously my dad's here and my brother's here, and then a few other friends I think are coming as well. So, I mean, you know, it's probably the best place that they can watch from. Get to see Brooklands and Luffield and coming down the Wellington Straight. So, I mean, it's a brilliant place to watch and have a drink and just relax, really. And it's, you know, very exclusive. Not many people get to come here, so no, it's very special.
Beautiful facilities as we are walking up the clubhouse as well, and also I think all the British Grand Prix takes place here in the summer as well. And as you said, you couldn't get much more of a better view than this. Are you going to be coming? I know as part of the BRDC Superstars, you get some passes for that as well, right?
Yeah, I'll be there. I think I'm there for the whole weekend. So obviously, unfortunately, not racing. So I'll be on the other side of the fence. But no, I mean, I'm excited. It's always a good event. Everybody's here. You know, the atmosphere is amazing, and you know, the crowds go crazy. So no, it is a good event to go to.
And I know with being in the championship, and I imagine with being part of the BRDC as well, you do get special consideration, I guess, for the Aston Martin Autosport Young Driver of the Year award, which BRDC are a huge part of. Of course, two of our previous champions, Zach O'Sullivan, Luke Browning, who now race in the FIA Formula 3 Championship, have won that and have gone on to get tests in Formula 1 cars with Aston Martin. I'm sure you've got your eye on trying to get in that. I know you did very well in it last year, and I'm sure you're looking to try and maybe go and get that award this year and go on to racing something like FIA Formula 3.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's got to be the goal. You know, it's kind of every little kid's dream to drive an F1 car and be the Autosport Award of the Year. So, you know, it would be a huge honour to be selected to do that. I think first of all we need to get in the top 4, so that'll be later on in the year, and got to perform in the shootout. But no, I'll be doing my very best on track to make sure I get there.
And to do that, you're going to have to do well in the championship, of course. We're only at round 2. How did it go for you at Alton Park?
Well, round 1 went pretty well. Scored 2 podiums and was 3rd in the championship after round 1. So we just had qualifying today. Had a little bit of a mishap, qualified P8, so not amazing, but at the same time we know we can race here, so, you know, we know we have the pace, and I think we can make some moves up the field.
Well, best of luck for the season, and I hope you enjoy this weekend. Hope you enjoy the Grand Prix weekend as well. If you have a spare pass, definitely do let me know, because I wouldn't say no to coming up here. But Callum, thanks for, first of all, inviting us up here, and thanks for bringing us up, and I hope you have a great season.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Back at the BRDC clubhouse once again with BRDC Rising Star Mackenzie Cresswell. Mackenzie, we're at Silverstone Grand Prix circuit again this weekend. An amazing circuit to drive these cars around.
It's fantastic, yeah. It's one of my personal favourites. Obviously it's a Grand Prix circuit, so it's the added benefit of driving a circuit that will drive higher up in the junior ranks. FI, F3, F2, F1, they all come here. So it's really nice to get that learning done at a sort of lower formula. But just the driving aspect, it's fantastic. The first sector is so fast, Copse, Maggots, Beckett, Chapel, it's all so good in a high downforce car like this. It's, yeah, real pleasure to drive.
And looking at the times from testing, we can tell that you specifically are very much enjoying it. Just tell us about how testing has gone here pre-season.
It's gone well, yeah. We've got under the lap record around here on a number of occasions around here. With the new upgrades, the cars have got a little bit quicker, so it's been really nice to set some nice times in testing, but obviously it is just testing, so we need to make sure that we're sort of still on it at the race weekend when it counts. But yeah, we've got a lot of laps around here and a lot of things learned, so it's going to help us go into this weekend and also the weekend later on in the year when we come back.
Yeah, we spoke to Callum Voyson as well. He's a BRDC Rising Star, and we've got Matthew Rees as well. We're at the BRDC clubhouse. It brings along some sort of benefits to you as well as nice, hospitality at race weekends.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, first off, we've got this great view of the circuit that we all have access to. And also for corporate sponsors, it's fantastic because you can get guest passes and then you can bring your sponsors, family, friends, anyone you want up here if they have a pass. And it's fantastic because they get all the benefits as well. So you can come up here, watch the races, have a drink downstairs, and yeah, it's just an all-around great place, and it's really nice to have access to it. I'm really grateful for it.
Yeah, it's a great thing to have on your CV as well. Now on back onto the racing, of course, you have a busy racing season this year, but you're also doing some things outside of racing. We were chatting a moment ago. You're having to balance your time, and I believe that you weren't even here on Thursday morning.
I wasn't, no. I'm still at school full-time. I'm doing the American version of A-levels. It's called AP, Advanced Placement. And yeah, as you said, I wasn't here Thursday morning, so I had to sit a human geography exam. My final exam that's worth 50% of my course grade. So it's tricky to balance it, but it's going all right so far. Once we get into summer holidays, then I'll be able to focus on racing. But yeah, it's sort of still a very delicate balance between the two.
Well, the balance is going pretty well so far. We'll see how you get on in the races. Thanks for chatting to us, and yeah, have a good weekend.
Thank you.
So we're back from the top now of the BRDC clubhouse. They've kicked us out and we've come back down to the paddock. That was good fun.
Yeah, they found out we were up there and we weren't supposed to be there. But anyway, it was good fun.
It was enough pictures for Instagram, and then they kicked us off, basically.
Yeah, but no, it's great to catch up with two of those BRDC supported drivers. Obviously, Mackenzie Cresswell, the Rising Star, and Voyson, the Superstar. Chris, it's great to catch up with Callum ahead of the race weekend. I
mean, having that support as a driver, you raced yourself. How much would that mean, to be a Superstar or Rising Star driver, be able to take your family in? They've got their own grandstand there. We see how lovely it is in the clubhouse, and to come here on a Grand Prix weekend as well. What would that mean to you as a driver?
Oh yeah, it's definitely something that's a real seal of approval and shows that you've got sort of hopefully some longevity in your career. It was something that when I was driving I was sort of aspiring to, and definitely something that you can put on your CV. And we heard from Mackenzie talking about the fact that you can get some guest passes there, and you can go there for the race weekends, either at the GB3 or the Formula 1, but you can bring guests, and for example that's helpful with sponsors and potential supporters or even friends and family. So it's got some nice benefits that are just nice. You can pop in with your pass and get some food there, but also some other benefits in terms of potentially even helping your career, but also it's a great networking opportunity for all the drivers. I mean, you look at the list of people in the BRDC club membership, and those are very useful connections for hopefully furthering your career.
Yeah, I mean, just walking into Paul O'Neill as we went in there, for example, and there's so many great names in there, and we're appropriately placed here, I think, because two drivers that have won the one of the awards I think that they're both chasing, the Aston Martin Autosport BRDC Young Driver of the Year award, which of course was won by Zach O'Sullivan. It was also been won by Luke Browning, who raced with High-Tech Pulse 8, and I think Callum, speaking to him, he mentioned how he was in the top 10 last year, but you want to get in that top 4 shootout.
Yes.
Do you get the feeling that Mackenzie's chasing the same thing to try and become that Young Driver of the Year?
Yeah, I think it's something that all of these drivers in this group would love the opportunity to do. Again, I'm mentioning when I was a driver, that was something that if I carried on longer, I would love to have had the opportunity to get in that top few, but especially the ones that get the final shootout. And it's great that it shows how competitive and good the series is when we have drivers like Luke Browning, who won the GB3 Championship for High-Tech Pulse 8 last year, and then went on to win that, and now he's been basically backed by Williams Formula One. So you know the pathways to Formula One are here in the GB3 Championship, and having that BRDC help, it can only be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, we're partnered by the BRDC here at the GB3, so I think there is a bit of a special consideration, but if you get in that top 4, you have a day here. If you win that award, then you're off to drive a Formula One car.
And it's even a great day just on it itself if you get the opportunity to get into the final 4, because I think it's a GT3 car, an old Formula 2 car, and you get assessed by real professionals, and it's a showing how versatile you are as a driver, and then if you do win that award, the BRDC Young Driver of the Year, it's just an amazing thing to have on your CV.
And Zach and Luke have showed how this is a great stepping stone to FIA Formula 3, haven't they? Zach already a winner this season. Luke is doing a brilliant job as well. He was the man on the move at Bahrain in that season opener. This is what these guys, this is great preparation for these guys, isn't it, to step into that championship?
Yeah, and even better this year now, we've got 3 tracks from the Formula 1 grid on the GB3 calendar, with Spa, Silverstone and Zandvoort added to later on this year, so keep an eye out later in the year for that, because those are they're international Grade 1 circuits, they're Formula 1 race there. It's experience for the GB3 drivers that they can then use in Formula 2, FIA Formula 3, and then eventually hopefully Formula 1.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you want to hear more about the championship, Hal, so to bring you up to speed with GB3, our commentator will talk you through it, Lewis McGlade.
The GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, is the UK's premier single-seater series and is run by Motorsport Vision's racing division, MSVR. The 2023 season will consist of up to 26 drivers across 9 teams driving the Tartar's MSV022 car, which was introduced last year. Each race weekend consists of 1 qualifying session and 2 20-minute races, with a final 25-minute reverse grid race where the pole sitter will be pushed towards the back of the pack. There are 24 races across 8 weekends this season, including 2 trips abroad, one to Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium and the other to Zandvoort in the Netherlands. The season starts at Alton Park on Easter weekend, with visits to Silverstone Grand Prix in May, Spa and Snetterton in June, then we go to Silverstone Grand Prix again at the end of July, Brands Hatch in September, before the season concludes with back-to-back weekends at Zandvoort Grand Prix and Donington Park in October. There are no required pit stops in GB3, but each driver is only allowed to use a maximum of 8 tyres per race weekend, which is the equivalent to 2 complete sets, meaning tyre strategy is a critical part of each weekend. The GB3 champion will be awarded a prize test in an FIA Formula 3 car, allowing them to experience the next step up the ladder as they look to follow in the footsteps of numerous other graduates, including Luke Browning, who have gone on to race in the F1 paddock. In addition, the Jack Cavill Pole Position Cup awards each driver who claims a pole position in qualifying with a £250 cash prize and a trophy, with the driver with the most poles at the end of the season taking home the Pole Position Cup and an extra £2,000 cash sum. The team of the driver with the most poles will also earn £2,000.
And we're down here in the assembly area. Thank you to Lewis. And as you can see, there has been some big changes to the grid, Piers Pryor. Why don't you just bring us up to speed with what's happening? Because the car we thought was going to be on pole is no longer there.
Yes, unfortunately, Timet Kuharczyk and his teammate as well, is Lukas Stajko. The 2 Douglas cars have been given a penalty after qualifying for a small technical infringement, which means that they will not be starting from the front of the grid. So our new pole sitter or front row is Alex Dunn and John Bennett, as we have beside us. And there's also, of course, carried over from last round, those 2 penalties from Alton Park from Christodoulou and Rojon, but they're further down the back of the grid. So that's why the grid looks a little different to qualifying than if it's just those technical infringements.
Right, well, we're going to try and speak to some drivers. I'm going to see if I can nip in here to Alex Dunn. I'm going to try and pop the microphone in. Whoop, here we go. Alex, starting on the front row at Silverstone, I'm sure this is something you dreamed of as a child. Maybe not the conditions, but how does it feel to be on the front row?
Yeah, I think definitely it's going to be a tricky one. I think, for sure the conditions are far from ideal, but yeah, I think we're in a good place to get some good points.
And I imagine you've got a lot of experience in conditions like this from racing in British F4, so calling on that now?
Yeah, I think the pace was definitely strong in qualifying, and I don't see why it won't be strong again, so yeah, we can definitely work from here.
Well, best of luck to Alex. I'm going to walk you over to our pole sitter. Alex is going to be starting on the outside of the front row and starting on pole position. Piers will now chat with John Bennett.
Yeah, we'll chat to John Bennett. John, stronger qualifying this time compared to Alton. Looking forward to a good race?
Yeah, really looking forward to it. Couldn't have gone better after a bad round 1, but yeah, just looking for a clean start and see what I can do.
That's it. Thanks, John, for chatting to us. Well, I won't talk to him too long because he's ready to go. I think got someone else.
Yeah, well, we've got someone who will be racing here on the British Grand Prix weekend, FIA Formula 3 driver Christian Mansell. Christian, how does it feel to be on the grid, getting your eye in before you come down and race yourself?
Yeah, I'm here with a couple of mates. We came down, it was just a good idea. It brings back a lot of memories. I was once on this pre-grid back in 2021, and yeah, obviously I'm racing here at the British Grand Prix. It's going to be mega. It's such an amazing event. I love the circuit. I love everyone here, and I live in the UK, so it's not too far a drive.
And tell us, you said you were racing here 2021, the experience these guys are gaining, how much that helps them to go and race in FIA Formula 3.
Extremely, and I think we're going to be boxed out in a minute, but very much. It helps you a lot. I think to sum it all up, to get on this track in the wet as well is very valuable.
Thank you very much, Christian. Let's go to commentary now. Oh, well, wait, I'll tell you, we're going to keep going for a bit, Piers. This is insane. Thank you very much, Christian. Stay where you are for now. Otherwise, you might get run over there. We're going to stay where we are and let the cars go faster. This is insane. I've never done this before.
Yeah, we have to stand in the middle, right between the cars, otherwise we'll get run over. Of course, the cars all getting. You can hear them spinning the wheels, leaving the pits, trying to get as much temperature in those wet weather tyres before they get going. Because it is not warm here, Chris, is it? It's very cold.
Yeah, well, we're going to stay here. The car's still coming towards us now. The weather really not on our side today, but I tell you what, that is always going to make for some good racing. I believe Lewis McGlade is set. Piers is going to run down. Let's go racing for round 4 in GB3.
Well, yes, indeed. Is there a place more synonymous with the world of motorsport than here at the home of British motorsport? It is, of course, Silverstone, and it is, of course, quite wet. You saw there in the assembly area, of course, with Chris McCarthy and Piers Pryor, that it is a little damp, and Piers did mention the fact that it is a touch cold out there. I think it's only about 13 degrees as the ambient temperature at the moment. That won't matter too much, though, once we've started this race and sent our way down through the first couple of corners. Again, if you've watched plenty of racing around Silverstone, you'll know that typically it will start out on the Hamilton straight. This time, though, of course, we are beginning on the old start-finish straight. That race down towards Copse is 190 metres until they get to that first corner, all of which John Bennett will be watching, waiting and looking for his first victory in the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. Of course, he did have a podium at the final round of last year. Can he make his way around the circuit and take victory in a pole position, which he was effectively gifted after penalties for drivers towards the back of the grid? You can see Styko there on the left-hand side. He'll be joined towards the back of the grid, of course, by his teammate Kuharczyk. He'll be starting from 24th position. They begin the formation lap, and you can already see the spray being thrown up into the air. It's going to keep them very much on their toes as they race around what is going to be a very, very slippery circuit. Piers Pryor joins me in the commentary booth. This is going to be a tough one.
It is very, very wet out there, Lewis. You can see on circuit a lot of spray being thrown up there. You can see it actually Loke almost having it, that wasn't Loke, that was Reese having almost a bit of a slide on the warm-up lap, and they'll be pushing the limits on this formation lap. You can see they're done in second place, sliding the car, because they need to get as much information on this lap to the grid as possible so that they can push as hard as you can in the first lap and get as many positions as possible.
Well, let's take a look at the starting grid then. John Bennett will start from his first pole position alongside Alex Dunn, who we caught up with the pair of those two in the assembly area. Costa de Paris as well, starting inside the top 3, his best qualifying so far in GB3, alongside championship leader, a double pole sitter back at Alton Park, Joseph Loke. Matthew Rees will start this one from 5th position alongside Mackenzie Cresswell, looking a lot stronger here in Silverstone than he did a few weeks ago at Alton Park in Cheshire. Callum Foysen will start his way from 7th position after a couple of podiums. Jared Waberski, of course the runner-up in GB4, will start from 8th. Zach Taylor in 9th position alongside James Headley, race winner already this year. He'll be rolling off from 10th, but he did win in conditions very similar to this. David Morales will start his way from 11th position alongside Max Esterson down in 12th position. Suter Arau after issues for the Red Bull sponsored driver back in Alton Park. He'll be starting this one from 13th position alongside Noah Ping, Nico Christodoulou from 15th position, and Edward Pearson starting his way from 16th, ending the 8th row. Michael Shin and then Oliver Stewart down in 17th and 18th position. Michael Shin actually had a really solid round last time out, so keep an eye on him. Arthur Rojon will start from 19th position after struggles in qualifying from him and a penalty. Iota Iwasaki, Sean Rashid, Daniel Mavliatov, of course, race winner at Alton Park in that third and final reverse grid race. Gerard Shee, after struggles in qualifying, he has more pace than 23rd shows. And then the first of our disqualified drivers from that qualifying session, Timek Kahacek, will start from 24th position, and Lucas Staiko will start from 25th. Let's touch a little bit on that infringement. They did have a touch in the Douglas Motorsports paddock. They're starting at the back of the grid. For anyone just joining us, why?
Yes, well, we think it's not confirmed 100%, but that there was a small, again, a very minor technical infringement. Actually, I don't want to speculate just yet because it hasn't been officially announced, but yeah, only a very, very minor technical infringement, which meant that the two Douglas cars towards the front of the field were not complying with the regulations completely. It wouldn't have been a massive change, so Timek would have been really disappointed because it was definitely a pole position that he earned. However, he will have to make his way through the field using that pace he had in qualifying. Because we know, even in testing, he's been so fast looking up to this race weekend, Thursday and Friday, both in the wet and the dry, especially in the wet. He's been the driver to beat, clearly found a good groove in that car. But yeah, there's a lot of quality
racing
throughout the field.
I think that's racing though, isn't it? You know, sometimes you'll have these things, you'll breach something in a minor capacity. It's just sometimes how it goes. But as we saw last year when we had one from Luke Browning, of course, and we came racing here in July, he was able to work his way up the field in all three of the races in impressive fashion. Days like this, when it's weather like this, you can absolutely make some moves, right?
100%. I mean, it is difficult in the wet. You will have seen on the formation lap the amount of spray that these cars produce means that it's quite hard to see where you're going, but there's definitely more opportunities to gain positions in the wet, I reckon, from the back of the field for Kuharczyk, because it's just a bit more generally a bit more going on in a wet race. You'll have more people going off, more mistakes, and the mistakes are more costly, whereas in the dry, again, it's harder to follow with the amount of downforce these cars have. But we'll still be lapping very, very fast around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. All the rain lights are on. You can see this year rain lights both on the rear of the tub and also the rear wing end plates, which is a great safety addition to this year. So hopefully reducing any issues.
And it looks cool as well. The race is underway then. Round 4 of GB4, and it's a terrible start from the second row of the grid. I think it was Alex Dunn that came through the middle. You got Joseph Loke, rather, who's come through to take over the race lead. He sent one down the inside of John Bennett into T1, and Joseph Loke has gone amazingly from 4th position up to the race lead, I believe. I think he might have just lost it a little bit on the exit of T1, but a fantastic start then from Loke, who's now in 2nd position ahead of Matthew Rees. I think there's been a couple of issues for Dunn because he's dropped back to 4th place as we start losing them through the spray, through Maggots, Beckers and Chapel, and then out onto the Hanger Straight.
Look how wet it is. That is exactly what the drivers can see. It's so little visibility when the cars are all throwing up the spray. You can see Dunn, who's dropped down from the front row to about 4th or 5th place, is looking out of the spray, and it's an excellent start for Joseph Loke, showing once again that he's really hooked up with these cars. He had a great start at Alton Park, and again today in the wet. Just literally jumped 2 rows straight up to the lead, but then lost it on the exit. I think Bennett had a good cut back out of Copse.
Yeah, I think Matthew Rees also had a fantastic start. As again, a couple of dives in the background. That will be Zach Taylor and Callum Voisin having a bit of a slide there as they head their way through in the road, and Carl not able to make up too many positions. You've got some in the background, that'll be Morales, and I think James Headley battling their way through. It's quite hard to pick them out in the spray. You've got Staiko, I think had already made up a couple of positions along with Kuharczyk, but they've got past Gerard Shee as they head onto the Hamilton Straight and up towards Abbey. Of course, this is where the start of the race is on the Grand Prix weekend. I think it was more Matthew Rees that had that best start from 5th.
Loke went off at turn 1 and went all the way through the cut through turn 1 and 2 and rejoined the circuit in 2nd place again. So he'll only be allowed to do that a couple of times while the stewards having a look at it. But I looked for a second, it looked like Loke had gone and Rees was in 2nd, but no, retaken that position. You can see how hard the drivers are working out there. It's actually much drier at this part of the circuit, the sort of the new stadium section with the loop. But then you get back onto the Wellington Straight. Oh, there's a car off. That's a car off the left-hand side. Is that Kuharczyk or
yeah. That's
he's in the barrier.
100%. That is Kuharczyk. He's gone off there. I was about to say he's made a really good rise up the order, but that was got out wide going through the left-hander is it Aintree there, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Aintree got out and onto that. We saw Kimi Raikkonen do that in 2014 in the Formula 1 British Grand Prix around here and just spun straight off. Yeah, there's so much less grip on those painted bits of tarmac. You saw on the outside of the circuit, it's green paint, and the water just doesn't really wick away, so you end up with standing water, and that's what caused Kuharczyk to lose the rear end and carry down the field. But we're looking at Callum Voisin now. He's having a solid start, not amazing by his own standards, but he's somewhere in 8th position. It's not too bad. He's just looking to rake in top 10s, but at the front of the field we still have Bennett, who's looking pretty in control for now. Joseph Loke has been fast but made a couple of mistakes already, and his teammate Matthew Rees, again another second-year driver, is doing excellently, so we'll keep an eye on how the pace goes there. But yeah, look at the spray, Lewis. It's tough. It is really, really tough. I was going to say, by the way, with Callum Voisin, he has dropped back a couple of positions in all of this. I mean, yes, decent start. He's in 8th position, so it's not been too crazy, but he has dropped back a couple into that 8th spot. John Bennett, though, will still continue to lead the way by around about half a second. Joseph Loke, Matthew Rees and Alex Dunn behind. It is really tricky out there. Any major props, by the way, to the camera operators out there that are doing an awfully good job capturing the footage, because let's be honest, it's hard to catch them through the spray. Yeah, it very much is. At the moment, the big winners on lap 1 are Taylor up a couple of positions. Also, Chris Dudulu up 4th from 15th to 11th place after his grid penalty carried over from Alton Park. But he's shown a good start, and to be honest, starting in these conditions that are this wet, it's just about keeping out of trouble, getting a solid start, and making sure you don't make any mistakes, especially on the first few laps. Someone who hasn't had a good start, Esterson, down 3 from 12th place. He'll be very disappointed. I think he was disappointed with his qualifying performance anyway. Oh, why? That was actually Bennett actually dropping in the same place that Kuharczyk lost at the previous lap, and Loke is now right on his tail. It's clearly difficult out there at the moment, Lewis, because there's a lot of standing water. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point there someone might make a mistake here and end up losing the car completely. We've already seen Kuharczyk, who's one of the fastest and drivers and most control in these conditions, has actually managed to lose it, but he's gathered it back up and will continue on. We'll see what pace he can do from the back of the field, but let's have a look at a replay of the start, Lewis. Yeah, so let's see. I was kind of wondering if there was a jump start from either Loke or from potentially even Matthew Rees, but I think the answer to that question was no. I think it was just insanely good starts from the pair of JHR development drivers. That is an amazing start. But you can see here, Loke looks down the inside going into T1, but I think he overcommitted a little bit there and ended up losing out to touch. Yeah, he did. He went in very, very hot, thought, you know what, I've had a great start, I'm going to make the most of it. Did the right thing, went for the lead, but Bennett, again, second-year driver, just a bit of a cool head on his shoulders, thought, you know what, I can let Loke through on the inside, on the slipperier part of the circuit, on the inside where the rubber's laid down, get a good exit, and he's been driving, or I say driving away ever since, he's been driving in the lead. It's not much of a gap. Those two JHR boys still got some good pace. It's good to see Loke actually coming on a little bit in the wet from Alton Park, because he just struggled a little bit towards the end of the race. I suppose time will tell, because he's still got another 7 laps. Yeah, I mean, he still finished, particularly in race 2, he still finished in 3rd position, of course, in that race too. But, I mean, yes, of course, he's got the experience from British Formula 4 and stuff, but this is a whole different ball game. To say that he's been this impressive, of course, that'll be a lot of the coaching for him, for Matthew Rees, for David Myers as well, mostly coming from the likes of Mike Epps, who we were catching up with a little bit earlier on today. Of course, the school ascend. They've got a busy weekend at the moment, but that was Rees going wide on the exit of the first corner, that's Abbey, isn't it? Rees going wide on the exit of Abbey. That's where you keep saying T1. Sorry, I forget, because his start-finish line is a different place in the British Grand Prix, but regardless, that section there is very, very high speed through Abbey and Farm, and in the dry, easy, flat, in the wet, definitely a lift, and this is where the drivers have been making mistakes. Kuharczyk went wide there, so did Bennett, but everyone just searching. They're not searching to cool their tyres. It's plenty wet enough. They're just searching for visibility. This is Shin in the midst of a battle between a couple of elite drivers. Of course, the 15, the one that's coming through the foreground of shot, that'll be Iwasaki. The one behind is Oliver Stewart. The car that I'm talking about in the middle of all is that sort of that greyer car. That is Michael Shin, who I said before actually had a really impressive record. Actually 4th in the championship at the moment after a couple of top 5s. Top 5 in race 2 and had a top 5 in race 3 back in Alton Park. This is is Nico Christodoulou in the middle of shots there in that more charcoal grey car, still struggling to find his way past David Morales. Of course, every car looks kind of a little bit charcoal grey when you've got this much spray going around, but at the moment there's been no progress. Christodoulou takes a little bit of a look in that number 2 car coming down towards the first corner, and obviously kept fairly under pressure by Jared Oberski, who I do remember was quite good in the wet back in GB4 last year.
Yeah, Jared Oberski was definitely good in the wet in GB4 last year, and showing that he's still got the pace in the wet in these faster, more powerful, higher downforce GB3 cars. He had a great showing qualifying and was well up in the top 10, actually out-qualifying his teammates as well, so being the leading Fortec car for now at least. It's good to see Morales having a strong result in the top 10. He had a bit of a he struggled a little bit the first round at Alton Park, but now back at Silverstone for this round, it's definitely helping. Oh, he's doing quite well, taking some of the expertise maybe he gained from Headley's wet weather expertise at Alton Park.
Yeah, right, as well. See them come down into Stowe. Got Max Esserson coming through the middle of that. We know that he's been pretty impressive when it comes to his running in the wet weather, of course, back last year. We'll see John Bennett come through, though, as our race leader. He's now set the fastest lap of this race, but I do know that it was Tomek Kuharczyk who had set it in the previous one, over the previous, but obviously with his spin off, that's where some of the problems would really come.
Well, yeah, Kuharczyk is now, what, 29 seconds off the lead, so it doesn't really matter how fast he's going. With only 6 laps remaining, he'd have to lap at about 5 seconds a lap faster than anyone else, which I don't think even he can do, just despite the pace he's shown in testing. But Bennett fast at the front, Loke and Rees keeping him honest, though. The gap has not extended a huge amount.
1.1 seconds.
Yeah, it's not massive, is it, really, when you think about it, considering how long this circuit is. And it's pretty tight throughout the field. I mean, the gaps between the drivers is, you know, barely more than a second or so. You know, it's only 10 seconds down to the top 8. So Voisin in 8th place is only 10 seconds off the lead, which not a huge amount.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, okay, let's say, for example, you're in Loke's boots right now, you're battling for the championship, but you're still fairly new to the world of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. It's a tricky race. It's a wet race.
Yeah.
It's a risky race. Speaking of which, that will be Styko that's just gone way off there, going through Brooklands.
Yeah.
Are you going fully on the attack? Are you thinking, I've got to make my way past John Bennett, I've got to go for the race victory? Or are you kind of thinking, no, do you know what, second's actually quite good?
I think Loke will be very, very happy with second. You know, qualifying on the second row of the grid, jumping up to the start. He's shown that he has the pace in the wet, but he just fell away at Alton Park. And his thing in his mind now is, I don't want that to happen again. I don't want to fall away off the back of John Bennett. And also, you're in second place. All you've got to do is keep that pressure on. Just one mistake from Bennett could be the difference, and that could be Joseph Loke's second win this season. But John Bennett will be so happy to get a solid, solid qualifying. Oh, off! That is Alex Dar.
No, it's Shin. It's Shin. It's Shin that's gone for a spin going through. There's also another big slide as well behind all of that. I think that might have actually been Kuharczyk, as Shin rejoined basically straight onto the racing line, which in spray like this is exceptionally dangerous, especially when you're in a really silver car.
Yeah, Shin spinning off and trying to join the circuit, but clearly couldn't slow down on the grass.
There was nothing he could do. It's like ice.
Yeah, it is. And these cars, of course, they run so low with the plank underneath the middle of the car. As soon as you get on the grass, you're effectively on a surfboard skimming across the top of the grass, especially when it's this wet in the grass. You know, that will be, sodden and waterlogged. But now, fast lap of the race has gone to Dunn, so he's finding his feet a little bit.
I was going to say the pressure really is mounting, not necessarily Loke to Bennett or even Rees to Loke. It's more to behind. So this is Bennett coming through the foreground shot. You cannot miss him because of the bright yellow highlights.
Have we lost one of the JHR cars, or am I?
No. Okay. Separated too much.
Sorry, everyone.
The panic's really coming in there. But no, of course, then you've got Loke, which will be in the JHR car that's actually got the blue highlights. Then you've got the JHR car, the silver car, that's got the orange highlights.
Yeah.
That one will be Matthew Rees. And then behind that, just to make things extra confusing, it's another silver car with red highlights this time that's not a part of the same team.
Tell you
keep us on our edge.
Yeah, plenty of grey cars out there, but tell you what, John Bennett is going faster and faster every lap. And just looking at the attitude of the car through Brooklands and Luffield there, he was completely four-wheel drifting, everything in harmony, car, driver, tyres, circuit. He was just drifting it through there. He's clearly settled down after the start, found his groove, and has now got some serious pace. We can see our race winner.
Yeah.
Race winner from Alton Park. That is, of course, Mavliatov in the black and yellow, Dayglow yellow hill speed car. Is that putting pressure under Kuharczyk?
No, I think it's the other way around. Kuharczyk's just made his way past. Obviously, Kuharczyk's had that spin-off. I mean, he could be still struggling on grip, but I think he's more sped up and then got past the likes of Mavlyatov and then Gerard Shee and has started to kind of pull away from them. It's just that kind of that initial thing as he's made the move. He's got that pressure on him immediately. I mean, Kuharczyk, I've got to say that he was 25th not 2-3 laps ago, and the fact that he's recovered to this, he's kept that mentality. He had to start from the back, he worked his way forward, then had to move back and then work his way forward again. I don't know if impressive drive is the way that I'd put it, but it does show quite well, I think.
Oh, that is another one of those. Is that Sean Rashid?
Yeah.
Sean Rashid has unfortunately made a mistake from 24th place there. That looks like it's through Maggots and Beckett's as well, so similar place to where Shin lost it on the previous lap.
It's so hard through there, right?
Oh yeah, I mean you can see, look how low the car sits through there and picks up loads and loads of dirt. So that'll be some extra work for the mechanics to get that car clean for the race tomorrow. Again, only one race today, 2 races tomorrow. Hopefully some nicer conditions, but it's great experience for all the drivers. We see the number 39.
That's going to be a little bit too much for Gerard Shee. Mavlyatov straight back down the inside as they head their way through Club and out onto the Hamilton straight. Oh my goodness, be careful going out there onto that green painted sort of concrete area. That is not going to have any grip. And also rejoining the fight is Roujon, who's he's struggled a lot this weekend.
Roujon showed excellent speed at the previous round, as we see Gerard Shee going up the inside of Mavlyatov once again. Shee in the white and red car, Mavlyatov in the black and yellow car, as we can see. Then behind that is Roujon trying to get a piece of this action.
And here comes Pearson, of course, who's now got the pressure on him. Pearson being in the white and red Fortec machine. Douglas Motorsport, rather, not Chris Dittman Racing, completely different team. Douglas Motorsport of Kuharczyk. He's got himself to the inside in that number 7 as they head up towards Brooklands. Kuharczyk will take over the position, despite taking what wouldn't have been the optimum line going through Brooklands there, but that was a nice little tidy move.
You can see the amount of grip that Kuharczyk has. He's gapped through 4-5 car lengths in just like 1.5 corners, and that's, you know, it's just the difference in the confidence of the drives of the car and maybe the way they've got the car set up for themselves. Pearson at the back, you know, not lapping slowly whatsoever, but Kuharczyk just with an extra bit of pace. Looks like Loke's closing this gap ever so slightly, and the times would suggest that, because Loke set the fastest lap of the race that last lap, a 2 minutes 11.244, which is about 0.6 of a lap faster even than Bennett. Saying that, for Sector 1, guess who's fastest in Sector 1? Matty Rees.
He's flying.
It's coming together at the front.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think it's more that they're all kind of getting into their own little spots, because, of course, Loke behind Bennett is 1.4 seconds, and there's an extra 2 and a bit seconds back to Rees, second and a bit back to Dunn. They're all kind of separated out enough, which means you've got not only clear air, but also visibility.
Yes.
Which for me, at least from me as a spectator point of view, that's the key thing here, because obviously what we're seeing here, you hear it all the time on Formula 1 and stuff, but they're always talking about it like these camera angles, they don't show it off correctly because you're kind of looking down, and you are looking down and through the spray, so it does make life a lot easier. When you have that low down shot at turn 1 at Copse, you can really see how thick that spray will go, as Callum Voisin continuing to battle it out with Zach Taylor, who's just dropped back behind him. That'll be Voisin up to 7th position, returning to a couple of positions that he had earlier on in the race.
Yeah, that was that's a fight that's been going on for a few laps now, but Voisin getting back ahead of Taylor. Just behind them is Headley, of course, a race winner in the wet at Alton Park, so we know he's no slouch in the wet, and he's only a few seconds back from those guys. But yeah, fastest. Yeah, again, Loke is definitely finding some pace towards the end of this race. He was fast in Sector 1, fastest of all in Sector 2, fastest of all in Sector 3. He's
just had the fastest lap?
Yeah, fastest lap of the race. That gap's come down to 1.2. We could have a last lap fight for the lead here, Lewis, if this keeps going the way it is.
Of course, at the end of the day, you're a racing driver. You've got to go for those race victories. You'd be silly not to. But all I can think about is like big picture. Think championship. I know we're only in round 4 of a 24 race championship across not only Great Britain, but a couple of rounds internationally as well. But if you put yourself where you're losing points early because you've tried going for a race victory and then you've dropped it, you've cost yourself a few points here. Those are points which become harder and harder and harder to gain back as the season goes on. Keep that big picture mentality. and we'll have to wait and see. That said, at the end of the day, I'm here as a joyous, loud spectator. So Joseph Loke, off you go. Send one down for the race lead. Let's have a battle, shall we?
Yeah, we'd like to see a battle, but Joseph Loke will be doing, you know, knowing Joseph Loke, you know, he will be going absolutely hell for leather, trying to get the lead. And there's pushing hard and getting 2 wheels on the curb, and you can see the margins there are so fine. You just touch a white line which has slightly less grip than the tarmac, and you can easily lose the rear of the car, and he nearly did then. But no, his second place is still a great thing, you know, great fight for the championship. He knows that Bennett is not quite up there in the championship fight at this stage. Of course, by the end of the year, who knows? Who knows? Bennett's obviously his second-year driver. He had great pace last year and with one of the best teams historically rode in Carlin. But Loke, he's soldiering on. Clearly, the issues that plagued him in the second half of the wet race at Oulton Park have been resolved. Potentially it was setup, potentially it was driving. I don't know. But yes, he's closing that gap, and it also looks like that gap for third place is coming down as well. Dunn is starting to apply some pressure on the back of Rees.
I mean, weirdly enough, last lap Dunn was actually a little slower than Rees, but I think he's been closing up throughout this lap as we are on the penultimate lap of this race. Oh no, we're on lap, so we were heading on to the penultimate lap of this race. Although, that said, the lap time, it is getting quite close to being a timed race. It's very, very tight as they come across. It's 2 minutes and 11 seconds as they cross the line. And guess what kind of lap times they're running? 2 minutes 10. So it is really touch and go, genuinely, as to whether this is the final lap of the race or not. Let's see what's happening back here, though, as we've got Grosjean, we've got Mavlyatov as well, all involved in this fight. Back down for around about, I think it's 22nd place, because Shin will be the third car in all of that. So there has been the position held from Grosjean. Mavlyatov sat behind him. Yeah, this battle of three is again has been going on for a few laps now. They're trying to figure out. Find their right places down towards the lower end into in the 20s. Let's have a look. Look at that lap time from Dunn. 2:10.3. That's half a second faster than pretty much anyone else. The second fastest was Rees. Well, they're saying that second fastest lap of the race was Rees, right ahead of him on a 2:10.7. So not a huge amount of difference there, but yeah. You can see this part of the circuit. It's actually drying. I say drying out. I use that term loosely. The amount of standing water on the racing line has definitely reduced from the start of the race. Of course, with 25 BRDC, you know, a BRDC partnered GB3 cars flying around with their wet tyres and their high downforce whipping all of the surface water off. That's why we're seeing the lap times consistently drop and get faster and faster as we move along. And I mean, it's just that, I mean, it just even shows how high the level that these drivers are driving at, is that even with these changeable, windy, blustery, wet conditions, checkered flag, they're lapping within a tenth or two every single lap, and it looks like we are getting the checkered flag prepared. So, yeah, from what I'm looking at, I actually think Asuta Arau has been off once again. It could be extremely tight as to whether this is the final lap. He has definitely hit someone. Yeah, that's 100% been contact there, because his left rear is not pointing in the right angle, and you can't normally bend your suspension and your front wing on your own. So this will almost certainly be the final lap. So I imagine. I think he's hit Christodoulou, because Christodoulou's dropping down the order. Well, they're coming out of the final corner now. We'll see them as we count down the time. There is 10 seconds left to go as John Bennett sends it out through the final corner, or maybe he doesn't want it to go a lap longer with him dropping that much time. 4, 3, 2 and 1. We have not finished this race just yet. We are now heading on to the final lap. I said it was tight. We crossed the line with maybe 2 seconds spare, and that could be big for the likes of Dunn, who might well get past Rees and onto the podium. Yeah, and also here, let's have a look at the replay. Oh, it's contact early in the braking zone between Weberski and Christodoulou. So basically what happened there, Asuta Arau tried to go around the outside of Weberski, clipped Weberski, which then made his car then, of course, broken, and he couldn't slow down and ended up clattering into Christodoulou, who is unfortunately an innocent party in that manoeuvre. So really disappointing for Christodoulou to not even be involved. Look at the battle for that. I mean, I'm not sure if Loke is going to get close enough and whether he's going to want to, but his last lap time, probably courtesy of what happened at the final corner there, was 7/10 of a second faster, fighting some opposite lock as they head through Stowe, going out quite wide and really pushing this car as hard as he can. Loke is throwing everything at this race to try and catch up and pass the Rodin Cullen of John Bennett. They head through the double yellow flag going through the club section, where of course Christodoulou and Asuta Arau have come to a rest at for their races, which is a big shame for them. Yeah, really big shame. It was all going so well, Lewis, considering how wet it was. Everyone, apart from that one mistake from
maybe we had not even that many driving errors.
Kuharczyk had one.
Kuharczyk and Rashid and Shin. But other than that, it was a fairly clean race until that moment there. And it was only a bit of a miscommunication by the looks of it. I think the stewards, I'm sure, will have a look at that, but it looked like a racing incident to me. Just two drivers fighting over a piece of tarmac that they couldn't share, and unfortunately the innocent victim was Chris Dudula, which is a real shame for him, especially after having received that penalty, which dropped him a little bit further down the order at the start of this race than he would have started. But I think it looks like that Loke is just going to be too far back to challenge for the lead on the final lap.
Well, they're heading down into Brooklands now. Like you say, Loke has been close, but it's not going to be quite enough as John Bennett's going to head through the final corner, hopefully a little bit less dramatically than on the previous lap. See if he runs wide at Luffield this time. It took him a while to get his first podium in the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, but now he can call himself a race winner in the 4th race of the season, 2023, and it's the Rodin Carlin of John Bennett on top. He'll take the race victory ahead of Loke and Rees, who'll round out the podium. Unfortunately not able to challenge Rees for that final podium position, and it would be Costa Taparis finishing. Oh, actually, he's been dropped down the order. Mackenzie Cresswell will end up finishing in 5th position ahead of Voisin, Taylor, and Taparis. What has happened?
Taparis must have had a penalty.
Taparis, he's been given a 5-second time penalty.
That will be track limits, almost certainly. Track limits, because of course a lot of the corners on the exits here have tarmac, and you can't abuse that. So yeah, we're just looking at the track limits. 5-second penalty. Taparis will be really disappointed. I was chatting to Trevor Carlin on the grid actually, and he was saying that very impressed with Taparis in these conditions in qualifying. But you can see how happy John Bennett is there. You can see his eyes through that sort of almost pink tinted visor, giving it a good fist pump. Well done to John. It's great to see him. Great to see him do that.
Salisbury represent.
Is he from Salisbury?
He is from Salisbury, so am I, so that's fine. No, he's, like you said, we were talking about him last year as to how much are they consistent and mature driver for someone who's never really done slicks and wings before. How his maturity and consistency was. I mean, he finished in the top 10 of the championship. He had so many top 10s throughout the year, and it took him ages to get that first podium, which actually came in the very last round of the championship at Donington Park in the first race of that final weekend. But now 4 races into the new year, into the new championship, after struggles at Alton Park, he can call himself a race winner. And not only that, but he does have the double pole. He'll be starting from pole position tomorrow morning as well, and what a boost of confidence this will be.
Oh yeah, we spoke to him at Alton Park, and he was understandably disappointed. Qualifying, he really didn't feel like he got hooked up, and unfortunately then that meant a very difficult weekend for him. But we knew at the start of the season, we were talking about who's going to go well, and we were saying, John Bennett's going to be up there in the title fight. He had great pace last year in a different team, and obviously moved to Rodin Carlin, which is historically one of the most successful teams in this championship. They've won many of the championships, both drivers and teams over the years, and he's got strong teammates in Callum Voisin, who actually had another strong race in that one, getting in the end sixth position, 6th position in the end, so he'll be fairly happy with that. And it was actually a really strong showing from the Carlin cars in total. Taparis obviously was a lot higher until his penalty at the end, which was 8th place, and yeah, really strong result for him. But also, again, JHR 2nd, 3rd, and with Morales in 10th. That's a very strong result from them too.
They are looking really impressive. Well, John Bennett will come to a stop, and I'm sure he'll be overwhelmingly glad. We'll hand down to Chris McCarthy. He'll be chatting to our podium finishers.
So getting out the car then, his first win of the season and a first for Rodin Carlin this season as well. John Bennett jumps out the car, a superb drive in very tricky conditions, lost the lead momentarily, but after that he never lost it, and John Bennett, a superb performance. We'll grab a quick word with him now. John, I mean, it wasn't the best first round for you at all, but you put that behind you. That was a superb drive out there, and the first win of the season for Rodin Carlin. How are you feeling?
Yeah, so happy to get it. Promoted to double pole and then starting the weekend with a win. Especially after round 1 was such a nightmare for me, to bounce back with a win, it can't be better. And just full thanks to the team. The car was absolutely awesome out there. But yeah, so happy.
We've got Trevor here as well, of course, with the team, with the Rodin Carlin team, so that must feel even better to be able to do it in front of him.
Yeah, well, like I said, after disappointing results in round 1, it was really important to bounce back and show what I was capable of. Yeah, just so delighted with it. So.
How were you feeling towards the end there? Was it just a case of controlling the race towards the end?
Yeah, just controlling the race. Kept quite a gap the whole race, so was never really under too much pressure. But yeah, just really happy with it.
I mean, you made it look very easy, but it was incredibly difficult out there, I imagine. How does it feel to win here at Silverstone? It must feel very special.
It's absolutely amazing, and especially in the wet. It was a lot of fun out there. There was a lot of some out complaining, lots of sideways every lap, really. But yeah, just delighted and relieved. So.
Anyone you'd like to thank?
Everyone, Paul, my engineer, Trevor, obviously, my dad, my mum, my parents. I got a couple of sponsors here, Matt and Matt Street, and obviously my manager Andy as well. Yeah, there's so many people who helped me to get these results.
First of many, I'm sure. Go and celebrate with the Rodin Carlin team. Congratulations. Right, let's go and find second place, Joseph Lowe. There you can see the celebrations. Joseph, welcome back to the podium. Third time. We can't keep you away, can we? That looked tough out there.
Yeah, it's very tough. Obviously, those conditions, you're aquaplaning everywhere. It was like exiting Max Beckett's. It was nearly in the wall every lap. So, but yeah, really happy with the P2. It's good points, and pretty much just really happy with the result considering where we started.
Nailed the start as well. Some of us thought you were even going to take the lead on that first lap, but I mean, you must be really happy with second. You know, 3 podiums. You're really racking up the points now.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, we had quite a tricky quali. We just got blocked pretty much every lap, so that's why we're out of position. And I think our pace showed that. You know, we were very, very quick then. Obviously, I don't know if I got fastest lap, but I feel I did. So. Yeah, just really a strong pace. Obviously, I tried to back off in the middle of the race, try and save the tyres a bit and make a challenge towards the end. But just with the spray and everything, you just can't see anything. So, you know, it's just very hard to get close. But yeah, really happy with P2 and obviously Matt in P3 as well. So great team result.
Phil, there's things you learned there as well that you can maybe take forward now into the next races and try and get some win.
100%. Obviously, it's the exact sort of results that we need, and we need to keep doing them throughout the whole championship. So, obviously, race 2 tomorrow is going to be tricky from P12. Like I said, quali was not ideal, but you know, I mean, we can pray for a bit of wet again, and you know, if we're in the wet, I'm sure we can, you know, start making positions. I don't know where we'll get to, but you know, we're out of position, so we'll be on a charge tomorrow.
You're driving like a championship lead. I'm sure we're going to speak to you many more times. Congratulations. Right, let's go and speak to Matthew Rees. As we heard, 2 JHR cars on the podium. I'm going to speak to Matthew Rees, someone I remember from the karting days as well, and someone I remember finishing on the podium a lot there, and now on the podium here at Silverstone. That's not bad.
It's been a bit of a long time since I've seen you, my friend. I think it's been 6 years nearly, so it's been good. Yeah, not bad race. It's a bit disappointing to finish third after the way we did. I think we were there or thereabouts, but fair enough to John and Joe. Completely couldn't fault them. So we'll take the points. Good podium, and we got race 2. I think a few in the championship starting further behind me, so we're good to capitalise on that, and we'll see where we can finish now.
How difficult was it out there in the spray as well? Because, you know, running in the top 3, I mean, it looked like you couldn't see anything at times. Just talk us from your point of view how difficult it was to see at times.
Your assumption is bang on, nothing. So if you could watch the footage, I think you see me darting around all the time just to try and see A, where the corner is, and B, where to brake. So yeah, not much. I'm still, everyone else has got the same thing, so you've got to deal with it, unfortunately. But yeah, good job, I think.
Looking forward to the rest of the races now. Hopefully we have better conditions.
Well, I think it's supposed to be dry tomorrow, so yeah, we're looking good. Hopefully we can get a decent start and see where we can finish there. And obviously reverse grid is also as important, so we'll see what we can do then.
Well, congratulations. We'll let you go and celebrate more with the team. There you can see just over to my right now the drivers going off. Joseph Lowe celebrating away. What a race. And the Rodin Carlin team, if you just point round here to my right, you'll see all the Rodin Carlin team out here in force as well, celebrating that one. Braving the conditions as we are going to continue to do now. Someone who doesn't have to do that is our commentator, Lewis McGlade. Let's go back to him for the podium now.
Cheers, Mr. McCarthy. There we go, having a little bit of a chat with our podium figures, and quite rightly, as Piers Pryor did say, that Joseph Lowe would be pretty happy with that result. Second place for him, and that means it will hang on to his championship lead. And again, just shows how consistent this young, bright superstar is. 4 races down, 3 podiums onto the books. But yeah, an interesting race. Not too much really happened on there, as Mark Werrell's going to be our lead driver on the podium. Nice, good effort. No, of course, not too much actually really happened in the race, but it was still exciting, it was still thrilling, it was still really, really difficult in some really tricky conditions, which means that the races we've had so far in 2023, race 2 and race 3 at Alton Park were in really horrible rain, and of course race 1 here in tricky conditions as well. So Joseph Loke and Matthew Rees first will come out onto the podium in 3rd position, receiving his trophy. And then his teammate will join him on the podium in 2nd place. Championship leader Joseph Loke will take to the 2nd step of the podium, again receiving his 3rd trophy of the season. Matthew Rees his 2nd, and someone receiving their 1st trophy of 2023, only their 2nd trophy in the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. It is of course John Bennett, the Rodin Carlin driver, taking top honours in his first ever race win, shall I say. Again, a very impressive effort and a very impressive drive. Lights to flag, basically, but that does not do it justice. Had to deal with the pressures of those behind. We'll take a look at the results of the race as well and see exactly how things finished up in all of that. John Bennett taking victory by a 2nd over Joseph Loke. Matthew Rees rounding out the podium in 3rd. Those 3 there that we caught up with. Then Alex Dunn in 4th position, his best race of the season so far. Then Mackenzie Cresswell in 5th, Callum Voisin, Zach Taylor, Costa Taparis in 8th position, with James Headley down in 9th, and David Morales in 10th position. Rolling through the rest of them, the finishers see Waberski, Ping, Esterson also up there as well. Yeah, seeing the rest of them kind of fall their way through. Some disappointed drivers in all of this, of course the likes of Kuharczyk, Krista Dulu and Sujo Rao having those issues, and dropping down at the end of the race there, having been counted as retirements. Big shames for them. We'll take a look though at highlights from the first race of the Silverstone weekend, and again a reminder how fantastic that start was from both of the JHR development drivers. Joseph Loke through the middle, Matthew Rees also following him, but John Bennett was the one able to hang on at the race lead only just as they headed through the first corner. Alex Dunn dropping back a little bit on the race start, courtesy of Matthew Rees' fantastic launch, as we lost them all in the spray on the race down towards Brooklands. Aintree was a bit of a problem point for Kuharczyk, who had a bit of a spin, as well as one of the other Douglas Motorsports drivers, this one Styko, who went wide at Brooklands before rejoining the circuit. Heading through Magnus Beckers and Chapel, it was Shin that had the spin, and he was sent straight through the gravel trap, was able to rejoin despite going over the grass and slipping and sliding his way through. Little bits of contact, but fantastic fighting nonetheless between the likes of Roujon, Mavliatov and Shin on his recovery drive as they head through Aintree and up towards the Brooklands corner. Then there was this late race drama, Waberski and Suta Arau getting into contact, and Nico Christodoulou being sent off as a passenger in all that fight, ending the race in the gravel trap. They'd have that under double waved yellow, so we were still allowed this fight to continue as Joseph Loke was pushing as hard as he possibly could, setting fastest lap after fastest lap, trying to catch this man here as John Bennett would come out the final corner to take his first victory in the GB3 Championship. Loke and Rees behind. A fantastic race to start our GB3 weekend here at Silverstone, and it really was a brilliant effort from John Bennett to have set that kind of pace throughout the race. He was kept close by Joseph Loke, but with all that going on, we'll head down towards the paddock area and see what's going on.
Yes, we are down here. We've managed to grab Callum Voisin after the race. We're getting absolutely soaked, so hopefully we won't have to keep him for too long. But Callum, a top 10 result, a bit difficult after qualifying, but you managed to make the best result probably out of it you could have done.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, quite happy with that result, really. I mean, especially in the spray, we literally couldn't see anything. I had a really good start, but I just got boxed in going into Mackett's and Beckett's, and I mean, you couldn't see anything. So, no, still quite happy with the result. Yeah, after a tricky qualifying, I felt like there was a lot more in the tank. We just unfortunately had a little incident in the pits, but anyway, yeah, good solid points on the board and ready to go tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be slightly better than this weather.
Yeah, we were saying in the comms box at the start of the race, the spray was ridiculous, and it actually got a little bit better as the race went on, but just, you know, put us in the cockpit on that one.
Well, I mean, to be honest, it's like being in a shower. You know, it's like getting a shower head and just putting your face in it. I mean, couldn't see anything at all. Only towards the end of the race did the spray kind of, you know, hold back a little bit, in which case we could see, you know, a little bit more. So I'd say, to be honest, it was more spaced out because we couldn't see anything. It was that's kind of the reason.
We've got 3 so far.
You know, as I said, towards the end it was all right, and there was you know, I could get a bit closer because I could see where I was going. But no, very tricky conditions, probably the hardest out there, but very happy with the result. Yeah.
Quick word on the team. Really strong for all 3 of you in qualifying. You look like they've got a good car in the wet.
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, we've been really strong in the wet, which is why I was disappointed with qualifying. I think there was a lot more. But, you know, John and Costa have done a brilliant job, and I think John just won that race. So huge well done to him. He's really deserved it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Callum. We'll catch up with you again tomorrow. If we could grab James, we'll get you quickly. James Headley. Jump on in. I'll get you under my umbrella. Hang on, let's go this way. Hang on, let me swap hands. James, sorry to bring you out in the rain, mate. We saw that you got great pace in the wet at Alton Park with your first win. I spoke to you a moment ago. You're a little bit disappointed with that one.
Yeah, definitely. You know, obviously, I think not only me, but other people had expectations for me to come through that race, and I was definitely looking forward to it. But I just sadly didn't have the pace. You know, to start with, it was just like survive and try and see. I don't think the race should have happened, to be honest. It was definitely not to start with. You just literally couldn't see anything. You know, if a car was to my right, I wouldn't have known. So, or you know, anywhere. So, yeah, it was quite bad conditions. And then I thought, you know, I'll definitely have a disadvantage of, like, you know, being in the spray. So I thought maybe like drop back a little bit. I didn't quite have the pace as well, so I thought drop back and then try and attack, find my braking points and everything, and then try and attack. But I just kept dropping back and then had some pace at the end. But yeah, I don't know. We just haven't quite had. Oh, I can't speak now. Haven't quite had the pace this weekend, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, still a solid result though. Definitely inside the top 10, and you know, building on last weekend, where obviously you're right up there in the championship if you carry on the way you are. Yeah, exactly. You know, and this weekend's like people are reversing. You know, so I think we'll still be okay in the championship. Like the people that are at very top this weekend aren't too far at the top. You know, this weekend. So you know, for instance, like John's in the. I actually had dinner with John after the first race, and we literally said like we can't like one weekend he does well, one weekend I do well. It's got to be together, and then. Just so I say that, it literally is the opposite, like Alton, but oh well, we'll try and both be on the podium soon. But. And finally, it's great to hear that you're going to be in for the whole season. Yeah, exactly. I'm over the moon really with obviously what happened at Alton, and yeah, just getting that result. All big thanks to the team and my sponsors. You know. Yeah, and yeah, for sure, we look good in pre-season testing everywhere else, so yeah, it's good to crack on, and we're in it for the fight, that's for sure. Who's helped you get this season, you know, to keep going? Obviously Arden, and you know, my sponsors Hendy, Beechdean, you put me under pressure, I've got to think of everyone now. Hendy, Beechdean, Clive Empson, and we'll have many opportunities. That's about it. Yeah, we'll have many opportunities to mention them at every podium you get this season, hopefully, mate. Here, just on this one. Thank you. Brilliant. Cheers, James. And have we got anyone else? Let's have a look. I can't actually see. Yes, come on in, Gerard Shee. One moment. He's just getting the umbrella. Come on in the umbrella. Gerard, tricky conditions out there.
Yeah, it's my first heavy rain race, like ever, and basically you can't see the car in front. It's pretty incredible, to be honest. It is very, very wet out there, but you had a good race. You were battling with other drivers out there. Is this your first experience maybe in Silverstone in the wet? Yeah, to be honest, yeah. I only did one day in pre-season test, and then now just straight on. A bit unfortunately in quali, because we just get that margin, like lose a bit, and yeah. Brilliant, thanks very much. Well, hopefully it will be a little drier tomorrow. Are you looking forward to it being drier? Yeah, I hope so. Brilliant. Well, thanks for chatting to us, Jardo. I think we've got in time for one more. Yeah, we'll grab a word with Costa if he's ready. Costa Paris, of course, our Australian driver. Costa, mate, you were mega in quali, and then good pace in the race. Unfortunately, it seems like you got a bit of a penalty there.
Yeah, unfortunately, a bit of a difficult race. Not a great result, unfortunately, from where we started. So, you know, really. Yeah, I got a track limits penalty, unfortunately, which means, you know, finished 8th overall, unfortunately. But I think we've still got a good place for tomorrow. Still good. Third is a good place to start, and hopefully we can have a better result tomorrow and be where we should be, I think.
Brilliant. Well, again, tomorrow hopefully should be a different day. In the dry, do you reckon you can have the same pace you've had in the wet?
We were struggling in practice, which is a bit, so but obviously it's blind for everybody going into tomorrow. We don't know track condition, everyone sort of changed after qualifying as well, position as well. So I think we can be right up there. Need a few changes to start, and then we'll go.
We'll look forward to it. Good luck tomorrow. Get a good dry night's sleep this evening, and we'll go again for 2 races tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you very much to Rode and Carl. They've been absolutely amazing. The car has been on rails the whole weekend, so thank you very much to them.
No worries. Thanks very much for talking to us. Get in the dry. I'll pull in our wonderful presenter for this weekend, Chris McCarthy. Chris, how are your feet, mate? Damp?
I mean, it's wet out here, isn't it? I mean, my kneecap took a hammering from speaking to Alex Dunn, but then I think the rest is kind of all just blended in now. So yeah, I know usually loads of people run down here, but I think people are trying to dry it up. But,
wise thing. I think
very hard to see out there. Wasn't
oh
it?
my God, we were just chatting to the drivers a moment ago, and they were all saying it was ridiculous. James Headley even said potentially that was probably one of the wettest races he's done. That maybe in future they should consider waiting a little while. But I think if they'd waited, it would have just got wetter. So glad we had a good race. Not too many incidents, but no, it's good to get the Silverstone race weekend underway.
Christian Mansell didn't bring the Australian weather with him, did
no, he did not.
But great to have him here with us watching, and I think a great first race to kick off the weekend, right?
Absolutely. I look forward to it. Hopefully, if it's wet again tomorrow, maybe not quite as much rain, please. Because it's not only for the drivers, it's also for us. I've got very wet feet.
Well, still one more coming up today. Pre-show begins for GB4 for round 4 here at Silverstone at 4:30. So make sure you join us for that. A lot of these drivers, it could be their first wet race in a single-seater. So do tune in. It's going to be a good one for GB3. We'll be back tomorrow.